Dear students, today the topic of the lecture is the pure substances. By pure substances, we mean the gases, liquids that consist one type of matter. For example, H2O. For example, gas, air. For example, nitrogen, another type of gas which consists one type of gas. For example, nitrogen, N2, and air could be considered as pure substances. A substance that has fixed chemical composition throughout is called a pure substance. Water, nitrogen, helium, carbon dioxide, for example, are pure substances. A pure substance does not have to be of a single chemical element or compound, however. A mixture of various chemical elements and compounds also qualifies as a pure substance as long as the mixture is homogeneous. For example, air is a mixture of several gases but is often considered to be a pure substance because it has uniform chemical composition. N2 and air gives us, for example, N2 and oxygen, O2, gives us air. However, a mixture of oil and water is not pure substance. Why? Because they have a different densities and they are not soluble in water. It will collect on top of the water, forming two chemical dissimilar regions. I apologize. For example, a mixture of liquid and gaseous water is a pure substance, but a mixture of liquid and gaseous air is not. A mixture of two or more phases of a pure substance is still a pure substance. For example, if you put the water in a boiler or in a kettle and boil it, it will form the water on the it will form the steam on the top of the kettle and the water on the bottom, but it's still considered as a pure substance because it has only air. A mixture of ice and liquid water, for example, is a pure substance because both phases have the same chemical composition. A mixture of liquid air and gaseous air, however, is not a pure substance, since the composition of liquid air is different from the composition of gaseous air, and thus the mixture is no longer chemical homogeneous. This is due to the different components in air condensing at different temperature at a specific pressure specified. For example, air consists nitrogen and oxygen. If we liquefy the air, it will have the, for example, water vapor and the liquid form of nitrogen, which is two phases, the nitrogen, oxygen, and the air, for example. That makes the pure mixture, not the pure substance. Okay, phases of a pure substance. We have three different phases of matter. The solid, the liquid, and the gaseous form. As you can see, this is the molecular structures of the different types of the matter. For example, you can see orderly placed molecules of the solid body. Solid bodies are, for example, metals, for example, ice, and other types of substances. If we heat or give a specified amount of heat to our matter, it will liquefy, thus destroying the molecular structure or the molecular structure to the chaotic one, but still close enough to be one pure substance. And if you give another heat to these molecules, then we'll get a gaseous form. For example, this is ice, cube of ice. This is liquid water. This is the vapor. As you can see, the differences are obvious. The molecules of solid are kept in their position by the large spring-like intermolecular forces. When you give a heat, these intermolecular forces are destroyed, thus creating the chaotic mechanism of the water. Phase change process of pure substance. Let's example water at the pressure of 1 atmosphere and the temperature of 20 centigrades. After we give it some amount of heat, the water will be heated to 100 degrees centigrade, which called saturated liquid. Why? Because there is a liquid which is boiling. And in state 2, some part of the liquid is boiled, creating the water vapor on the surface of the water. As you can see, by giving the some type of heat, the volume of our body is increasing. For example, when we get the saturated liquid vapor mixture, the volume is approximately 2 times higher than for the liquid. If you give another heat, we will get saturated vapor. The temperature of the our pure substance is still remain the same until all the water is evaporated. As you can see here, we can see that this is the saturated vapor, which means that there is no liquid in it. And if you heat it more, then you will get the superheated vapor, which means that the temperature of it is way above the saturation point of this liquid. This is the TV diagram for the heating process of the water at constant pressure. As you can see, this is the liquid phase. When you heat it up, the temperature will increase to 100 centigrades, and after the heating process, the water will be boiling. This is the boiling point, and this is all the boiling process. In this point, there is no liquid. This is called saturated vapor. After the giving heat to the saturated vapor, we will get superheated vapor, which means that this is the temperature above 100 degrees centigrade for atmospheric pressure. Saturation temperature and saturation pressure. It takes a large amount of energy to melt a solid or vaporize a liquid. The amount of energy absorbed or released during a phase change process is called latent heat. More specifically, the amount of energy absorbed during melting is called latent heat of fusion, and it's equivalent to the amount of energy released during freezing. Similarly, the amount of energy absorbed during vaporization is called latent heat of vaporization, and it's equivalent to the energy released during condensation. The magnitudes of the latent heat depends on the temperature or pressure at which the phase change occurs. At 1 atmospheric pressure, the latent heat of the fusion water is 333.7 kilojoules per kilogram, and the latent heat of vaporization 2256.5 kilojoules per kilogram, which means that you need 2256 kilojoules to evaporate water from the point of boiling. During a phase change process, pressure and temperature are obviously dependent properties, and there is a definite relation between them. The higher the pressure, the higher the saturation point. Such as it's called liquid vapor saturation curve. A curve of this kind is characteristic of all pure substances. As you can see here, there is some boiling points of different substances. For example, argon is boiled at minus 185.9 degree. Ethanol, let's look at the methane, minus 161. Nitrogen, minus 195, which means that the temperature above this, which means like 194, in this temperature we will get the gaseous form. At the temperature of 195.8 or 9 or below that, we will get the temperature above. We will get the liquid. For the oxygen, the same temperature. As you can see, the nitrogen will liquefy on temperature much lower than the oxygen. So when you want to depart oxygen or divide oxygen from the nitrogen oxygen mixture, you need to temperature below 183 degrees, but not lower than 195 minus centigrade. The boiling temperature of nitrogen is an atmospheric pressure is 196 minus. This means that the temperature of liquid nitrogen exposed to the atmosphere must be minus 196, since some nitrogen will be evaporating. The temperature of liquid nitrogen remains constant at minus 196 degrees until it's depleted. For this reason, nitrogen is commonly used in all temperature scientific studies and cryogenic application to maintain the test chamber at constant temperature of 196 degrees. This is done by placing the test chamber into liquid nitrogen bath and is open to the atmosphere. Any heat transfer from the environment to the test section is absorbed by the nitrogen, which evaporates isothermally and keeps the test chamber temperature at constant minus 196. The entire test section must be insulated heavily to minimize heat transfer and thus liquid nitrogen consumption. Liquid nitrogen is also used for medical purposes to burn off unsightly spots on the skin. This is done by soaking a cotton swab in liquid nitrogen and wetting the target area with it. As the nitrogen it freezes the affected skin by rapidly absorbing heat from it. Property diagrams for phase change process. As you can see, this is the PV diagrams for pure substances. This is TV diagram, this is TV, and this is TV diagram. As you can see, every liquid or pure substance has its compressed liquid region, critical point, saturated liquid vapor region, and superheated vapor region. We can look at this picture for the water. The left side of this region, compressed liquid region, we have water. As we heat the water, we will get to the saturation liquid line, which means that we have a saturated vapor, 100% vapor. As we as we proceed with the heating, our water boils and turns to the saturated liquid vapor region. After that, reaching this point, we will get the saturated vapor line, which means that the vapor has no liquid in it. And if you drop the temperature by 1 centigrade, we will get the saturated liquid vapor region. And after that, P1 constant. At P1 constant, for example, atmospheric pressure, if you heat the water, it will boil, the vapor will be heated, and it will be called superheated vapor region. It means that if you drop the temperature of the superheated vapor for 1 centigrade, it will not turn into the saturated liquid vapor line. It could turn to the saturated vapor, not the liquid vapor region. Also, we have the PV diagram, which shows the same processes. For example, solid plus liquid. We have a solid region, it's ice. Solid plus liquid, it's melting ice. Liquid, it's melted ice. Liquid with vapor, it's boiling water, and vapor, pure vapor, and superheated. The critical point is the point where there is no difference between liquid and vapor. For example, for the water, it's 22.2 megapascal and 376 centigrades. This is the examples. For example, a rigid tank contains 50 kilograms of saturated liquid water at 90 degrees centigrade. Determine the pressure in the tank and the volume of the tank. If you have a saturated liquid at 90 degrees, you must see the volume, specific volume at 90 degrees centigrade, which is equal to the 0.201036 meters cubes per kilogram. If you multiply it with each other, with the 50 kilograms, you will get the volume of the saturated tank. Temperature of the saturated vapor in the cylinder. A piston cylinder device contains 2 cubic feet of saturated water vapor at 10 psi pressure. Determine the temperature and the mass. For example, 50 psi, 2 cubic feet. You can find the pressure and the volume. If you have the pressure, you have the specific volume, and after, if you multiply the specific volume to the volume divide, you will get the mass. Water is to be boiled at sea level at 300 centimeters diameter stainless steel pan placed on top of the kilowatt electric burner. If 60% of the heat generated by the burner is transferred to the water during boiling, determine the rate of evaporation of water. That's easy. So generally that's it. I think this lecture was interesting. Thank you very much for your attention.